Welcome to Recruiting is No Joke. I am your host, Joe Laugi. I'm excited to be with you guys today. We've got another fantastic guest. I have Tristan Mackrory. Did I say it right? You
Yeah,
must have said it
yeah.
right. Look, there we go. I got Tristan in the house with us. Tristan, for anyone that doesn't know you out there, I always like to ask, who are you? What do you do? And who do you do it for?
Cool. Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, Joel. Of course, I'm Tristan, VP of People and Talent at Almedia. I've spent the last 10 years scaling high growth tech companies across San Francisco, Tel Aviv, and now Europe, usually stepping into chaos and building the structure, culture, and systems that let teams grow fast without falling apart. I joined Almedia about 2 years ago when we were around 30 people.
Yeah.
We've now scaled past 130 with revenue growing from, I'm being very public and transparent here, revenue growing from 90 million to 167 million last year, up
Wow.
to now we're going to go past 350 million this year, all completely bootstrapped, no investors, and well over 2.5 million revenue per employee. Or for the American listeners out there, that's $3 million per employee currently.
Wow.
My role has always been pretty simple. Build a company where the best people can do the best work of their careers. That means a really high talent density, clear performance expectations, and a culture of ownership and speed. I'm here today because I think there's a different model for people and talent in Europe, something a little closer to Silicon Valley ambition, but in a bootstrapped context. And that combination is what makes Almedia where I am right now, such a fun and intense place to build.
I love it. And just for anyone who doesn't know, what does Almedia do?
Yeah, so of course we're a bootstrapped adtech startup, essentially a place for app discovery.
Very cool. I love it. So walk me through. I hope hopefully maybe, but most people I have on the show didn't wake up one day and go, "Hey, I want a career in kind of talent people." So I'd love to know, kind of how you got started in this space, and just a little bit of the backstory there as well.
Yeah, interesting. I did the kind of recruiting kind of background of not always wanting to be a recruiter. It wasn't my lifelong ambition. I actually started in education, so I was teaching,
Oh, cool.
and I taught for 18 months at a secondary school. And I was looking, I was speaking with the teachers that are doing it their entire careers, and huge respect to them, right? And I enjoyed the role. There were people, at
What
that
was your
kind of
what was your
retirement
subject?
stage, and they were looking at me, kind of going, "Don't do it, don't do it, don't want your entire life, don't
Mm,
kind of fall into this." And I looked around for something that I could have high impact with, and be able to also have a kind of a monumental jump in people's careers and lives. And this recruiting position came up nearly about 10 years ago now.
So when just to go back to the teaching, like, did you have like a generalized subject, or what were you what was your focus there?
So it was primary education, which is
Okay.
like, is that over
Yeah,
there?
elementary
Yeah,
school. Yeah.
elementary education, but for secondary school kids. So it was kids that had been held back a couple of years.
Okay. Wow. That's obviously, I mean, the thread between the two, just have it being in a role that makes an impact, obviously mattered. So this first gig you landed, like, how did that come about? Like, did you just apply to it? Was it someone you knew, or like, how did you kind of get into that first role?
Yeah, it's a great question. I just applied to it. I saw a company, a large multinational agency, and I kind of sent a message to one of their internal talent partners. And I think it was probably quite a weird inbound message as well, coming from someone who's a teacher to go, "Oh, I want to come and get this entry level position in recruitment."
Yeah, that's cool. So, all right, so you're starting in recruitment. I guess at what point did you kind of realize, okay, this is definitely I could do, kind of further along since I could build into. What
Yeah,
point did
it
you
was
get to where
even,
you realize that?
yeah, it was really quick.
Yeah.
It's, coming into this large agency, which has honestly, I think, best in class kind of onboarding and a way of the ways of the trade in one of these large agencies. It was pretty quickly pick up, taking the skills from teaching and understanding how to communicate with people, and also be able to understand where people are coming from,
Yeah.
and kind of align and match up. It was a kind of, I guess, career progression for me there as well. So I came in as obviously like an associate, junior, and I think within 2 years I was leading a team,
Wow.
which is cool.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. So, uh, you started off in that role. Like, how did you just get into kind of this startup space? Like, how did you kind of know right away too? Like, hey, that's a goal of mine. I want to work with founders. I want to work at this like earlier stage type company. Or how did that come about?
Yeah. So I was quite fortunate with a lot of work as well, but I was quite fortunate to be able to have the opportunity to work on some large internal projects in this multinational agency. So they were just moving their kind of center of excellence, so their entire back office,
Yeah.
to a new location. I jumped in on that project, relocated a lot of internal folks, 600, 700 miles away, and then also rehired many of the team as well who weren't making that relocation journey.
Hmm.
And by having that opportunity to do this large kind of spinning so many plates, working on so many different kind of elements of this, after fulfilling that project and getting it in about a year, they then asked me to work on an internally incubated startup, which was an AI-led startup this large multinational agency had funded and invested in. And so I was the third hire there. I grew out a team and worked on that for the next 9 months. And we're talking, 7, 8 years ago. AI was still in its infancy.
Yeah. So is it pre-Chat GPT?
Oh, it's way, way ChatGPT, way before that. It was interesting.
This
It
was this to
wasn't
like them with like their own search then internally for the agency, the matching type of product, or
exactly. So they were trying to build a competitor for their own agency, but for a different market, right?
Hmm.
It was a great point. I really enjoyed it. I feel like it isn't what you would call AI today, right?
Sure.
It's more kind of word matching, looking for certain words in CVs and going, okay, this person has said like .NET in their CV 3 times. They must be really good for this position. So this is
Totally.
way, way before ChatGPT.
Yeah. Yeah. It makes sense. So you did then. How long was it before you got into like, the internal kind of company internal recruiting position at a company?
Yeah, question. So I started after working through these two kind of really exciting kind of I guess startup projects internally. I wanted to do something a little bit myself, so I started consulting, and I was working with startups both in Scotland, London, and then I branched out to Paris and Berlin. I did for quite some time. It was it was an experience. I was working with so many they were all mostly pre-seed.
Mm.
So like, there were 5, 10 people working and ended up usually with very, very limited funds, especially these are mostly European startups too. And then I was reached out a couple of years later by somebody, um, a potential partner for my business or wanting consulting done. And they were speaking about this Silicon Valley based company which was about to scale up, and I was like, cool, okay, yeah, I can help these guys. Like, let's have a chat. And it was within about 2 conversations I realized, okay, actually no, they want me to join. Yeah, they want me to join them and scale out their European operation.
Cool.
And I was like, these opportunities don't come knocking twice.
Yeah.
Something where you've got something which has just hit Series C, Andreessen Horowitz is behind them, and they need somebody to come in and scale out the European operations and head up their talent. And me and the founder, I think he was 24 at the time, we really hit it off. We could really see he wanted to build. I was really energized about what his vision was, and the entire leadership team there as well. And it was within 3 months of that conversation, I closed down my consulting firm and I'd
Wow.
relocated to Berlin and set up the entity, found an office space, and just working in beast mode.
Yeah, I love that. I love it. So, and I mean, walk us through that too. So you're starting off obviously small, hyper growth. What year was this?
I'd have to check. I think it's about 2021. That sounds right.
Okay, so we're like post then as well. So we're kind of living in that like remote hybrid. great
Yeah.
resignation time as well, where there's obviously a lot of things going on. I feel like it's a really challenging time to find people and just nail them, especially, those top candidates. Everybody had a ton of offers. So, um,
Yeah.
completely different landscape than today. So let me through the, you get this new opportunity. You working directly with the founder. What's that mindset like? Because I think there's a lot of people that would love an opportunity like that, but they don't always think about like what it entails. Like you're on beast mode. What is that? Like? How are you? What are you working like? Like how are you functioning? I just love to know because I think sometimes really always realize like what it takes to get done, especially in recruitment where
Yeah.
uh, we're talking to people a lot at random hours and just walk us through that.
Yeah. I mean, it's such a one now straight away working hours. I was working both Berlin and San Francisco hours
Mm,
simultaneously, back to back every day. I'm quite lucky naturally. I don't sleep that much. I think I've got an average of 5 hours 20 a night. But during
perfect.
this time, it was a little bit less than that. It was intense. Think and this is what I'm trying to replicate here as well, right? I think when you bring these really high performing people all in
Yeah.
one room together, it's infectious. If
Mm,
I was coming into a business where people were clocking off at 5 and that was it, and they were expecting me to do so much more, I would struggle, right? But if you're bringing everyone and you've got all these incredible people from all over the world with incredible backgrounds, it's inspiring and energizing.
mm,
It was, I always say, those couple of years, fantastic for my air miles. I was traveling between Tel Aviv and San Francisco, but it was awful for my sleep.
mm. Yeah, so it wasn't a work life balance gig in that kind of way. But I love what in terms of getting together, great people, you're building something, you have this like vision. It sounds like,
Mhm.
you met with the founder, you're building this relationship, and it's like you have this shared vision. I'm curious, like when you something like that, like it's obviously not just technical that you're looking for. You're not just looking for like a resume that just reads. Like how do you vet that out with the conversations you're having, and then as you kind of building out your own team, like how do you just really look for that, and how do you find recruiters that even can vet that out?
Yeah, it's a good question. I've interviewed so many recruiters over the years, trying to build these, what I believe, very high performing teams. I think it comes down to obviously the experience comes into it, and being able to index on past successes, which should be an indicator of future potential.
Yeah.
But it's also just pure potential as well. Like, and you an interview, you can understand where their passion, where their motivation, where their career projection can lie. I'm not one for going, you've worked here for 6 years, so you're going to be amazing. I really don't. There's an element of indexing for it, but I really don't just look at somebody spending a long time doing one position and going, then you're going to be fantastic.
Yeah.
I really like to see that kind of career progression in quite rapidly.
Yeah. It's interesting because I know what I'm seeing a lot more now is I'm seeing a lot more um, I don't know, complete profiles. I'm seeing a lot, almost like better resumes coming through.
Mhm.
Obviously, a lot of candidates are using AI to do that. So I guess when you're in an interview, what are some of the questions that you're asking? Like how do you figure out what even with like potential? Like I'm just curious to get your take on like how you would vet out that potential and how you in the context of like a 30-minute, 45-minute conversation.
Yeah, I think I text to it. One that I particularly like to understand what they're like in a difficult or a challenging environment and to understand their resilience is to understand when people have told them no,
Mm,
even though they think it's the best decision for something that they've been trying to drive within their career, and how they manage to convince somebody to get to yes. It's really interesting answers from that. And they vary from, I did it anyway, and this is how I then convinced them, which is a really interesting kind of route, depending on how they've gone about that, or being told no and then deciding, okay, I'm just going to leave it at the door.
mm.
It's curious to see how people think about that.
Let's say someone, because what's that? It's like an after the fact, right? Or I
Yeah.
forget. That's some type of phrase. Um, are you then looking at? what was the outcome of that as well, or is that because I'm curious with that one. That's a good like what are your thoughts, or does it depend on like the type of role you're working on as well?
Yeah, it really type of role. But I think the thing is, in these kind of hypergrowth startups and scale ups,
Yeah.
you're looking for people that are able to push and also challenge time managers and leaders
Mm.
who sometimes might be like, okay, this is how I think it's done. And I need a team that is able to go, okay, cool, but have you thought about it this way? And this is how we need to do it, and get that answer to yes.
Yeah, I love that. I love it. So where so you scaled up. When did you that first company then that you were with?
Yeah, that like I say, that was quite a ride. We were never revenue positive, and I think the writing was definitely on the wall when we sponsored an F1 racing team and we flew them out to Morocco along with the car.
That's
Classic.
awesome.
We hit the unicorn valuation. We scaled up to 250.
Yeah.
Amazing. But definitely, this is definitely pre-Inst world, right? Like
Yeah.
back when it was easy.
Yeah, I mean that
That
was that
went from
2021,
250
2022
to,
time
I think,
period where it's just
oh,
it was
sorry, I missed that.
no, I was gonna say it's like that 2021,
Yeah.
2022 world, and then it all came.
It was good. I think for these companies and Silicon Valley, they needed that bit of reckoning, being a bit more smart with their investing.
Yeah.
So we went from 250 to like 35 overnight. We had a bit of a similar to kind of WeWork scenario where the founder CEO went in for a monthly board meeting and was removed. I
Mm.
wasn't expecting that, along with almost all the C-level. Following on from that, I had 6 months to really think and decide where I wanted to go next and where I wanted to build. And I got the worst reach out I've ever seen in my life. And I work here now. So, it almost worked. Let me run that reach out. Look, it said, do you want to make free cash? Come and work here. Free cash is one of our products.
I love that.
Obviously, like any sane recruiter, I thought, this is a scam. This doesn't sound legit at all. Fortunately,
Did it come nowhere? What was that?
it came via LinkedIn,
Oh,
via
yeah.
an external recruiter.
Oh my gosh. All right. I love that.
I didn't reply to that message. Fortunately, I got another message from one of their internal TAs based on their parent company, Almedia. I was curious but dubious. The website was pretty outdated. It didn't. They were like how they were generating revenue.
Just free cash. That's all they did.
Yeah,
Just printing out money. You're like, I've been in that scenario before. Let me think about this.
And then I was like, okay, let's have this conversation. I've been speaking with a lot of AI companies. This is 2 years ago, and all the AI companies were hiring.
Yeah.
A lot of them that I was talking to were not positive revenue, and I couldn't see. And that was a key part of when I was having conversations with the COOs and whatnot. What's your path to profitability? How does this look? Not wanting to go through the same scenario again of building something for 2 years and for it to be cut suddenly.
Yeah.
Not that you can ever fully shield from that, of course, especially in this line of work. So I had this conversation with the COO, and I was like, cool, okay, you're a legit company. He shared how we're generating revenue and that after profitability. I was certainly that. Then I had a follow-up chat with the CEO founder, which at no point beforehand had been mentioned about his story. He was he was even more so private. But so I came on site to meet him. He was 21.
Wow.
And he's built a company of at that point, employees,
Wow.
generating 90 million.
Wow.
Not VC backed. So nobody knew, right? Like there was
That's
no kind of
awesome.
media.
I love
There's
that.
nothing.
That's so cool.
It was within like seconds of meeting him. Okay, I can see the passion. I can see the kind of like the drive. I want to come and build this. I want to come and do this. Let's go. But we're going to stop operating under free cash when we're hiring people because it's not going. Like if we're wanting to hire, the best folks in the industry, we need to build out a real brand that people can believe in and drive. And so one of the first things I did was upon joining, was spend quite a significant of realistically, this is his money. There's
Yeah.
no VCs, there's no banks. Spend an amount of his money to go for a complete rebranding. And so we worked with a large design studio, same design studio that did Airbnb, WhatsApp back before they were acquired by Meta. And they've built our branding, our mission, our values, everything that's like core identity to really make us feel the future unicorn that we believe we will be.
I love that. I love it. It's so interesting because I mean, you experienced that, right? As a leader getting recruited in the way that you did. I
Mhm.
think coming in there right away. How was it? Was it easy to get that like buy-in for that, or like walk me through that process? 'Cause I think a lot of into a role new, maybe they suggest something like that, but I feel like that's even outside of even just purely talent. I mean, you're talking about like an overall rebrand of the company. So,
Yeah.
like, was that something that like right away they bought into and they trusted, or like how did you get to that point?
Yeah, I mean, it was relatively quick. I used my own example. I told them like their initial message.
Totally.
It's like, I think this was legit. You've got an incredible thing.
Yeah.
You want to hire fantastic people. Let's go and run with this.
Yeah.
Okay. And now we've gone from what 30 to 130 in under 2 years with a really high talent bar, which I believe is obviously not solely, but a large part of that is that initial kind of feeling of our company branding and whatnot.
Yeah, I love it. No, it's huge. So I'm kind of modern times. I think we were talking about this as well.
Mm.
Definitely a challenging market. There's a lot of uncertainty out there, and so um, it's not like, I mean, even in the conversations I'm having with people, it's not like every single company right now is rapidly growing. Obviously,
Mm.
we're hearing about layoffs. We're seeing a lot of people on the market, and I know that's not just in the U.S. It's like a,
Yeah.
a global thing. So, um, I'm curious. A lot of times right now, they're dealing with inbound, application. They got smaller teams. Like if your company's doing well, it's like
Mm.
you're expected to get more done, with less people. So, we through like how you balance like inbound applications, um, how you start to get outbound and going and get people. Like I'd love to kind of your strategy with that and like the way that you think about that. Obviously, you're trying to keep the bar super high, right? So,
Yeah.
like how do you do that? Because there's a lot of good people on the market, a lot of good people working still. So how do you kind of
Yeah.
fix that scenario?
It's really tough. And I think we're bucking the trend a bit as a well, where we are office first, 5 days a week. And so that is to say, when we're looking at our talent market, we're looking at Berlin in Europe. And Berlin in Europe is a bit more it's a bit more early years in terms of technical maturity. And we're having the for the talent to build. So we do have a lot of inbound, and I think we're around 50% of what has been headhunted and outbound, and 50% inbound. And how do
So
we manage? How do we applications? I think
yeah,
we had like 22,000 over the last 3 months.
wow,
We do have a large TA team here. We have, I think it's around eight people in the TA team, which is, and we're hiring another three. For a headcount company of 130 is large, really large, but it's on our scope and how we're growing. And we have kind of an oppositional KPI for the team, really to make sure that we have that quality of hire stays really high. And so the oppositional KPI is they shouldn't be hiring more than one per month.
so each TA you saying they really have one hire per month that they go. What do you mean by this oppositional KPI? I don't know whether I've heard this before.
In the sense that I'm not looking for them to hire, or not looking for them to hire three people, or their stats are down. Of course, you can always hire more than one person per month, but what I'm looking for is try to really focus on making sure the person that you're going to hire is the right fit and aligned for the business, and
Mm.
because we don't have any safety net, right? We've got no investment.
So each hire obviously is super critical at this point. Um, I'm curious, like how do you when it comes to outbound strategy or like even just like outside help? What's your like how do you balance like the sourcing and the inbound application? Is it like time management? Is it, continual training? And like, how, I guess, how do you get that with the team?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we have a couple of methods. So firstly, we've got sources. We have currently two right now, and we're hiring for a third. And so they're fully one's focused on tech, one's focused on growth, with the other focused on early years as well. But then as a team as well, we come together, I think, once a week for a couple of hours,
Yeah.
and we all work on the most critical roles.
Love that. I love it. So also curious to hear your take on, I know we were kind of discussing this before the show. It sounds like you have um, a role on your talent team, which I don't hear about a lot, but I'd love to kind of hear your thinking behind this, and why a TA team should have a data analyst on the team. Like, walk me through this. Like, what is their role? What is it designed to do? And like, how have you seen this successful, I guess, in the past? And
Mhm.
why do you think this is becoming more and more critical as well, kind of as it goes on?
Yeah, I think it's something, but I'm hoping that we're taking it a little bit to the next level, and I'm sure there's lots of other companies that are too. Previously, I think this would be called recruiting ops,
Yeah.
right? And so we've actively tried to and have been successfully source somebody that isn't just doing the coordination, isn't just doing operations where they're connecting things together, but actually has a deep passion for everything data. And so when we're looking for this position, we were looking for someone with some experience within the people space that had maybe where we've gone with this, found somebody who then went off for 2 years to train to be a data analyst.
Mm.
And this person, when they've joined us, and they joined about 2 months ago, has been an absolute force multiplier, not just for our team, but for the entire business. We went from we went from kind of standard ATS dashboards, which are very, very helpful. Don't get me wrong, but to kind of full automation across the board, where every hiring manager is getting an automatic report sent on their roles once a week. We've gone from being super reactive to being really strategic, which means we built out like 3 lovable tools, which we host ourselves, which are used internally across the company. And that's from salary bandings, which are public internally for our business. We have our missions, outcomes, and competencies for each position, which is AI assisted throughout a tool that we've created. And then also kind of an onboarding workflow, which we've also built using Lovable. And then there's a lot of mini apps that we're creating within People Apps, which previously required manual work. And then finally, this role, which for us is creating this really deep salary banding kind of tool, which has over, I think it's got more than 1,000 rows of different kinds of roles, different kinds of levels, and what those bands look like to us. And I don't be able to do that without somebody who deeply understands data and is able to create those data pipelines between different programs.
Which I think everything you say makes a ton of sense, and obviously I love this idea of the team going from reactive to
Mhm.
being in that position where they're really able to, sure, even with hiring managers, just them being able to get that report alone,
Mhm.
to kind of see where things are at automatically is it's such a game changer. So I'm curious then, like, for your team, how do they use that? I guess to be cut to partner up, or like, what are some of the changes you've seen with just your team going from purely reactive? Here's your role. Okay, now we're just filled to actually having the strategy. Like, how is that going to change? What do those conversations look like? And I'm
Yeah.
curious, even just from your team's perspective. Obviously, that's a big change, I'm sure, for them as well. So where do you have them spend time? And just more curious around like hiring managers. Like, how do you get them to
Yeah.
that point where they're actually partners and they're kind of seeing that way?
100%. So when we actually did that's a really good point. But I'm gonna cut. When we're building out these kind of lovable workflow, we realized we could build this out where it's completely self-service and no
Mm,
talent partner needed to be part of this. And we had
mm,
this we did an internal workshop day where we were like, oh, what shall we do? How far should we go? And then we realized the negatives of allowing this being completely self-service, where you remove the talent partnership from TA. And so we we made sure that actually you have to keep connecting back to a talent partner to make sure they're on the right path. Because what I don't want is for a hiring manager to go, right, I'm going to kick off a role. I'm going to type in this job title. I'm going to type in 3 things I want them to do. And then it's going to create a mission outcome competency, figure out the salary for this, which are tools that we've built. So it does that all. And then they go, okay, talent team, can you go and post this position? It's like, whoa. Did you see? What we'd created, a monster. So we were like, okay, a hiring manager will go, I want to hire for this position. And then a talent acquisition partner will go with them, run through this tool. So they're having to really think about it. And it's coming up with examples of what somebody in this position would usually do at a company of our size that's in hypergrowth in our vertical. It's got all these prompts already built into it.
Yeah.
It understands us deeply and our kind of values. Then they can work through it together over kind of 20 minutes, half an hour. And that really builds trust as well, because it also goes, oh, so if they're doing these things, this is the salary banding for this position. So the hiring managers are also understanding that we're not just coming out with this, whimsically. It's all very, very purposeful.
I love that. I love it. I know, back the first agency I worked with, they're more of an RPO, but not necessarily at the scale that some RPOs are. So we would do it one role at a time, and one of the things that we would always do is we'd have the kickoff call, and then 3 days later we'd have like a calibration call just to make sure we're on track. And I remember at first thinking, okay, like a lot of this stuff could just be done. But I think sometimes we actually it's like we underestimate that power of just having that time working through with another person and how much trust that builds. Because I think sometimes like it can, I've seen it done where you have the hiring manager fill out information and they're doing it themselves. Maybe it takes them an hour to fill it out. And I think if TA is involved in that and they're not thinking through things together, it's almost like the hiring manager then owns everything. And I think it's hard then to come with candidates because it's like no matter what, you've got to calibrate. Like especially if you haven't worked with the hiring manager before, and until you've worked with them a number of times and you've kind of seen what they like, how they think about things, how they read a profile, right? Because we all read profiles completely different. Like there's so many different elements that it's not just the company they've worked out, the length of time. There's a lot of different ways that you can look at a profile, but I think there's that working together too. Ultimately, that's what sets people up for success. Especially with these types of roles. But then you haven't even got into personality and working style and all of those other type of soft skills, which you're just not going to know until you start interviewing people.
Yeah, 100%. It's all about setting those expectations.
How do you? I know we're kind of running up on time here. I'm curious for just your thoughts around, 2026, not just like the job market and that type of, more so with recruiting. Like, what do you think that recruiter role is going to evolve into? Because I do think obviously we've got a lot of time that makes, even what you described. Like, I think hiring managers are going to be able to do more. And there's a lot of talk around being more of a strategic partner. So I'm just curious, what are your thoughts with that? Like, how do you see the role evolving? And you think the skills of that 2026 and beyond recruiter looks like, and what would you think to focus on right now to kind of get to that point?
Yeah, I think I think what you say is correct. Talent acquisition is transitioning to be more strategic, and if like my concern is for folks who aren't thinking about that already. This is going to be a really difficult kind of a difficult challenge to evolve, right? I really that talent acquisition isn't just recruiting anymore. It's also thinking about, well, okay, what about planning for the future, right? If we hire this position, what happens next? Should we start searching for that now? Should we start building out those pipelines? Again, it's just going from that kind of reactive stage to strategic. It's not only thinking of, I also believe, and maybe this is me coming from an internal perspective, talent acquisition doesn't just finish when you've filled the position. It also goes on to, oh, you're in the business. How are you doing? How are you enjoying it? I was, maintaining that kind of relationship throughout a candidate's kind of employment journey too.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Well, look, I know we're at time here, and what time is it for you locally? It's like 9.
It's just past 9:30 over
I
PM.
love it. So we're working overtime here on the podcast. But Tristan, I've loved hearing about your journey. I feel like there's a lot of value, that people are going to get from this episode. But I'd love to know, like, are there anywhere else people can find you, connect with you, find your content? Where's the best place for people to look for you?
Yeah. Mostly LinkedIn, I would say. I'm doing a couple of podcasts, but I think LinkedIn, I'm doing a post once a week usually.
Amazing. Well, guys, look, I always say, go connect. Say, hey, I heard you on the Recruiting is No Joke podcast. I always say, be patient as well. He's probably not spending as much time on LinkedIn as I am these days. But Tristan, it's been a pleasure to hear from you. I'm looking forward to seeing what you do here in this, kind of hyper growth stage of the business, and looking forward to connecting with you in the future again. Last question I'll ask for anyone who is in Europe, or they're in
Mhm.
Germany, let's say, where's the best place for them to apply for jobs as well?
Honestly, I'm a huge fan of directly reaching out to businesses. I've
I
had
love
so
it.
many people reach out to me in my inbox, and I'm worried now what I'm saying. I just realized.
All right, well, that's actually a good one. What's the best tip for it? Because I get a ton of messages too. What's your number one tip for just a good LinkedIn message? So what's the key
Hmm.
to it?
Number one tip for doing a direct reach is
Yeah.
get someone else to do it for you. Get a referral. No, 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 for real.
uh,
We've made a strong hire for our team.
yeah.
Uh, Asked their old manager to refer them in, and
Hmm.
it was such a fantastic beaming referral. I was like, I need to speak to this person.
Love that. Smart. I think that with how many applicants we've got, I mean, looking for referrals is huge, right? And leaning into that network. And I know we talk about it all the time, but I don't always think that people really do that. I don't think that's a go to. So Tristan, awesome connecting with you. We'll talk soon. And guys, if like I said, if you're going to reach out to Tristan, just be patient. Say that you heard him on the podcast, and we'll be back next week with another guest. So thank you for making it all the way through the show. And Tristan, thank you again.
Cool. Thank you so much, Joel. Cheers.